welcome to the Totally Online Gaming Group YouTube channel. I'm Jason, and today I want to help you Dungeon Masters learn to do what you actually need to do in Talespire to run a D&D game. Now, this is the second episode in a short series where I'm going to help you with this stuff. But before we get into that, I want you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel and comment below with subscribed, and I'll do my best to respond to each and every one of you in the comments. Alright, so let's get into this. So in the first video, we talked about some tips and tricks you could do to kind of prep everything prior to getting into the game with your players for an encounter, and what kind of stuff you wanted to have ready so that you could create a dramatic scene. Well, this next thing that we're going to go into here is, we started before, we had talked a little bit about setting up the atmosphere. And as you can probably hear a little bit in the background and see right now, I've got some goblins set up, I've got some creatures, etc. that I'm using to kind of represent the party. I guess maybe you got two druids who are shapeshifted, whatever. But I've got some creatures here representing the party, and some goblins here, and I also, if I hold down tab, you can see I've got two goblins hidden in the background. Okay. Well, you can hear the rain sounds and some like battle music and all that. Well, what I want to talk about in this episode is changing the atmospheres on the fly to things to help make it a more dramatic scene for your players. So if you look, we've got right down here this atmosphere block, which is currently set up to have our medium rain and our battle goblin attack music. I've set the settings visually for some fog, my exposure. I went with the frozen effect, you know, what time of day, etc. So I kind of all fit that in here. Now, for this, what if I don't want the scene to start out exactly that way? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of close out of that and come back in and just reset to default for the game board, so there's no music, no sound, whatever. Well, when I first come into the scene, maybe the players are further back. Maybe they're not sitting right up here seeing this encounter. Okay. So let's take a look and say, all right, well, what if my players, I had all them sitting like way back over this way, quite a ways from where our goblins are. And, you know, maybe the goblins themselves, okay, are just kind of hanging out, and maybe they're out of the field of view like this. Okay, so the players themselves, unless they have line of sight with the minis that you've given them control over, they would not be able to see the goblins. And as you can kind of see, I've done a decent job of blocking line of sight with where I've placed them. So perhaps this is where you first want the players to come in. As we mentioned in the first episode of this, you're going to want to put in a marker block so that you can fetch all your players exactly to where you want them. Well, here I'm also going to put in an atmosphere block, okay, for my initial atmosphere. Or I could just set my board to be the initial atmosphere that I want when they come in. Perhaps I like that rain. Okay, so let's keep that ambient as the rain, because that's just, well, you know what? Let's even make it quicker and easier. I'm going to come over to here, my atmosphere block over here, and I'm going to apply these settings. All right. And now, when I look, I've got my atmosphere settings already set to that. Well, I don't want this music to be the first music the players hear. I want them to come in and perhaps it's something, I don't know, let's just hear what the other options are. Here's A Wizard's Tale. Okay, alright, maybe some just nice ambient music to put in. And I'm going to go ahead and apply these settings to the board. So now, when my players, when I first bring them in, I fetch all my players. They're going to show up right here where their minis are. They don't see any goblins. But let's say their mission is to, hey, let's go exploring, and we're supposed to go up to this big old keep up here. And as they head that way, they start moving their minis out all the way over towards this area. And once they get close enough, then you can say, oh, hey, guess what? The goblins pop out. You could even have the goblins sitting where they were originally, kind of out like this. And I got that one hiding back here. And like we did in the first episode of this series, I can have them hidden, and then, oop, wrong one, hidden. There we go. And then when my players show up to where I want them, I can say, all right, boom, quick, change the atmosphere, reveal my goblins. Oh, I keep hitting the GM tools there. Reveal. And bang, your players are going to see them. They're going to hear the music, the change in the atmosphere that you've made. And then you could say, oh, let's roll initiative. So, you should have seen in some of the videos I linked to other people in the first episode how you could, use some of these tools, as this is really not about using the tools or learning how to use the tools, I should say, but how to apply them. I am going to go into a little detail on a couple of them, like, for example, here, once your players got to this area, if you didn't want them to move around, you can go ahead and jump into turn-based mode, okay, or cutscene mode, okay. Cutscene mode, as mentioned, you can have a screenshot grabbed and you can show that to them, and that'll show up on their screen, and they won't be able to move. Or, in this case, they showed up and combat. So I go into my turn-based mode, I click on the little gear icon, and now I can start clicking on who goes where based on their initiative rolls. Alright. And then you can go into your combat, turn by turn. Now, another thing I want to cover in this video is, what the heck do I do about looking into buildings? What if the players were exploring this building? Well, I let the players deal with how they're going to see things on their own screens. But when it comes to the DM, you need to see everything that's going on. So there's a couple different techniques that you can use. You can use this Cutaway Tool, okay, the green slider bar here. Okay, there's some good and bad with this, okay, the green slider bar, so I can adjust that and lock that in place, and that works out pretty well. I can even adjust the height, how far away I am. But what you'll see is, like for this building over here, on the edges, certain spots, I'm not able to see anything unless I'm a certain distance away from it. Okay, so this is one way you can do it when you've got players on one level that has a roof, or maybe a second story or third story, or they're deep down in a dungeon, so that you can see your players as they're inside a building. Oh, I've just put him on the roof. Now what? Well, see, now I see him on the roof. What if I was going to move him inside? That's one of the issues. Now, the players should be handling their own movement, but I could just jump him into there using that little teleport with the shift key, and that'll move him in there. And now I can see everything that's happening inside this building. So that's one method to do it. This method works okay. The only problem is if I'm dealing with multiple levels and I've got players on multiple levels, then, well, that can be a little bit of an issue when it comes to, okay, I've got to keep zooming in and zooming out to deal with it. So another thing that you can do, and this is kind of my preferred method, is I'm actually going to go into the build mode, and I'm going to have set up some volumes for hiding different levels. So like right here, I've selected this volume. Okay, well, right now this is just a selection. Well, let's go ahead and hit tab, and let's do that same thing again with your volume tool, but this is for hiding volumes. So I'm going to create a hide volume, and I'm going to do that same kind of trick here. Come up right to there, and oh, let's see if I can edit that hide volume. That's not exactly where I want it. So let's go ahead and delete it, and let's try it one more time. Because what I want to try to do is I want to get all of that. And what I'd like to do is adjust my hide volume. So now how am I going to do that? Tab out, tab in. Here's my hide volume. I'm trying to edit this hide volume. It's giving me a little kind of sticky. I want to edit my hide volume. So if I click on it, now I can move that down just a hair. Click outside. And tab. Here's my hide volume. It's hiding that upper floor, that upper area. So now I can see everything that's down in there. Well, now players go up the stairs. I hit tab, go into my hide volumes, right click, and I can toggle the visibility. Oh, great. Now what? Well, I'm going to put another hide volume right here for this one. And then when I exit out of that, now I can see this floor. So I've got a couple hide volumes set up for different levels now, so that when I'm starting this adventure, for me, I can have certain things hidden, okay, so that I can see them pretty well, okay? So I can say, all right, let's go into my hide volumes. I'm going to toggle that one, come out of here, and now what happens is all of this is hidden from the player. Well, what about all the stuff inside here? Well, I can do that too. Line of sight should be so that they aren't able to see it. But if I'm really interested in making sure that my players don't have an opportunity to see what's in here, I can just add a hide volume inside it. So I'm going to come down in here, and let's go in here with a hide volume. Oh, come on. I'm going to have to zoom down a little bit further. There we go. And let's see here. This is about the distance I want. And now let's edit this. Come on. I don't want to toggle it. I want to edit it. So I might have to go out, come back in. And it doesn't want me to click on this for some reason. There we go. Finally got it. And now I can start editing where I want this hide volume to be. And what I want it to hide. And it takes a little time to kind of get it the way you want it. You know, perhaps I'm wanting to hide all of this stuff here. And let's get that. Okay, there we go. So now I've got these hide volumes and they say, oh look, well there's a door, a building. That doesn't look the greatest. But all they know is that there's a wall here and a door, and that this is some kind of building. Okay. But other than that, they can't see anything that's inside. Then, once one of my players comes in and says, hey, let's open this door, and start walking in here, I go into my hide volumes, I come down to it, I toggle the visibility, and there you go. Now they've got everything, and you can see everything. Personally, I don't worry about those inner hide volumes as much because line of sight does prevent them from seeing all that stuff. So you can kind of, you know, keep all that stuff hidden from the top like this and leave that interior unhidden. Plus, there are some new tools that the devs are working on, including Fog of War, which, well, that's something that I'd be putting in there. You know, once they've got all the bugs ironed out, I'd put Fog of War in there. Hide volume the top, and hey, great. Now they can walk through. Everything's hidden because of the Fog of War, and it gets revealed as they walk through. So, that's a little bit more on some tips and tricks to use for you to be able to play and see things and have stuff set up. Again, recommend having your map set up with hide volumes like this prior to getting in there to play so that you can have all your tools and stuff ready to go and don't have to worry about doing it on the fly. All right, that's it for this episode. In the next episode, we're going to talk a little bit more about things you can do to kind of prep stats and stuff for your enemies and for your players on the minis in the game, how to set up the unique minis and stuff like that for it. And we'll see what else we can come up with. All right, so don't forget to subscribe and comment below subscribed so that I can see those comments and get back to as many people as possible. I'd like to try to get each and every comment and respond to those. But yeah, also if you like this channel, throw us a like, shout us out on social media, hit the little acknowledgement bell thingy so that we show up in your feed and you guys can see more of our content. But yeah, that's all for now. I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.